Today's little project is, I had a couple hours of time before it's time for me to go get my grandson. I wanted to make a rear camera mount for the RD. Now pretty much every motorcycle here has a rear mount, except the RD. But we're going to try to change that today. I had a rear mount on the seat, the cafe seat that I made, that I've been using the stock seat. Maybe this summer I'll put the cafe seat back on. I like to switch them back and forth. But I need one for the standard seat. So before I go any further, I want to show the mounts that I've used in the past, and they've all worked out pretty well. Some a little better than others. The whole trick with the mounts is they have to be rigid, of course. If it's possible, I like to have it that I can catch the tail section a little bit in the photo and the picture, but if I can't, then I don't have a choice. Now, the rear mount on the R1 is the best of all because it catches the tip of the muffler and it picks up the sound. And of course, half of the enjoyment of riding a motorcycle is, listening to me anyway, listening to the engine as you go through the gears. Now, it's just the truth in advertising is pretty much every bike here I've made more than one mount for before I found one that I was happy with. It never happens, almost never happens on the first shot. So my thought today was I'm going to take the seat off the bike. I'm going to carefully measure how much room I have back here underneath. It looks like I have enough. Try to bring the bracket up. It's going to require a kind of a crazy bracket here, but I'm going to try to make it up today. So step one is to go through and see if we have enough hardware. Well, of course we do. I'm sure we can figure that part of it out. We got plenty of hardware to make camera mounts. We got plenty of spacers and plenty of aluminum. And if we don't have anything even close, well, we got to see what the shape this ultimately will be. Maybe we'll have to make something from scratch. Either way, we need to get a rear mount. Now, when we're doing our group rides, especially the two-cycle rides, where you can really hear all the two strokes together, yeah, I really do like to have the rear mount. And I miss having a rear mount on the RD, but we'll see what I can come up with today. I'll pull that seat off. I guess the easiest thing here is move the bike, pull the seat off, and bring it downstairs and see what we got. See, I originally had thought I have these sticky pads that you put on your helmet. I could put it right on the tail light, but the problem is the tail light is rubber mounted. So that kind of, I don't know. So again, my second thought was, but the seat, but you see, you do absorb the vibration, obviously, when you're sitting on it. So I think I'm going to try to attach it to the back of the seat. And then the third choice would be to make some bracket off the frame. But again, once I pull it apart, and I look at all the choices, I always like to use them with stuff that I've already made up if I can, but if I can't. But this bike is so much fun to ride, and it's so neat when we have our smoke up the mountain rides. But I do need a rear camera mount. Now with the seat off the bike, the first thing I need to do is get a little piece of cardboard or something like that, make a little pattern as to how I want this to be, tape it on with some tape, and then go out to the garage. See, the seat goes on with 2 pins. Beautiful, easy bike to work on. Just to see that I have the right shape, and it's going to be basically a zigzag shape. Now it's definitely easier to make cardboard patterns like this up, and I can take this out and see if that's close to what I want to have. But what's going to be important here is getting these bends exactly right so it hugs up the back of the seat. This will help absorb the vibration rather than it doing this. See, I don't want it doing that. And I might even be able to, I don't know, get some JB Weld or something in there to really make this nice and rigid, because that is a key part to making all these brackets up, is getting them to be rigid enough. And I have made hundreds of these things. And of course the idea is with our very expensive $40 camera here, we want to get, see, you don't want to mount it out, you don't want to make a diving board or it just does this every time you hit a bump. So the idea will be to get it as close as we can to the seat, if that works. Again, not going to know till I go do a test fitting. So here's our little test fit, dry fit with the and it looks like that height would be just perfect because the camera has to go on top of this. And I just need to mark how far back. I don't want to make a diving board. And it looks like it's going to be fine. So that's basically, we've got a pattern now of the shape we need. I can look back at those parts I already have. Maybe something's close. Now I've got some scrap pieces here that I can use to I basically make a pattern up here. The idea is to just roughly take out some of the hammer marks. Just get some of them out of there anyway. So we can fit this into the seat reasonably. Yeah, it's time to just put a piece of tape on this. See if we have enough clearance around the tail light, and then decide on what length we want this. That's just a roughed out bracket. It's a piece of scrap. If I have to make it over a few times, it won't matter. We have plenty of this material, and we get it from Lowe's. Very inexpensive material. Now with the piece in place, I think we got the angle right. And we just got to figure out how far out we want the camera. We can do that down the cellar where it's not as cold. I learned a valuable lesson many, many times. Get all the test fits right before you spend the time polishing the part. Next step is going to be, I need to find where the exact middle of the seat is, and then line this up. Now that we're done with that temporary. Line this up and get some kind of a screw, or I don't know if we're going to be able to put a screw in there and then ultimately pop rivet it. Probably that'd be the easiest way. I don't know. Until I do this, I'm not gonna know. Now whenever I have to do two holes the same, just put a small screw in one and then drill a second hole. And we'll eventually figure out if we'll have choice of screws. We have some self-tapping screws, and also the other thing, we may have some steel pop rivets. But I wanted to have two in there so this would not tend to wiggle back and forth. And when I put the final install in, I'll put JB Weld between this and that part, and that'll make it even more rigid. Now, if you want to take it off after you've JB welded it, you get a hair dryer in there or a heat gun, get it up to 165 degrees, and the JB Weld will let go. Now, with the two temporary screws in there, the main thing is this is rock solid and won't have any tendency to go side to side. And with my substantial behind on this, it should cure any vibration issues. Well, we'll see. Because vibration, if you turn this into a diving board, if you make this out of 1/8" material, every time you hit a bump, the camera's going to do that. Now that really is nice and solid. Now the next thing is to figure out how far it would be to our advantage to get the camera as close as possible. And I have, well, several of these that I don't know which one I'm going to use yet. And then I just have to, that would be perfect. Then I just have to trim off whatever's left of the bracket. I can use that one. I have this long one. Oh, I can see how that works. And this one. This one looks like it may be the best. And of course I have to drill a little hole in there and JB Weld all at the same time. So that's the part of it that. And by the way, if you do buy one of these cameras, the first one I had was $14, the second one was $40, and both of them came with the accessory pack. But now I see the accessory pack is like $19. So I almost got the camera for free. Maybe I did get it for free. I don't know. But think of how many we have 1,100 videos that have been done with two very inexpensive cameras. That's pretty cool. I also have this, which is supposed to clip it onto a windshield. I don't know if that's going to clip onto the cord. Oh yeah, it does. Wow. Wow, is that going to make it easy? Super, super easy. And what I'm going to do is trim this bracket and just JB Weld this on. Boy, does that make it easy. Wow. Using this one, this also makes Another little, it gets rid of another thing, that there'll be no polish in the bracket because that's going to sit right up under the seat. The camera's far enough back. Boy, did we luck out on that one. That's amazing. We never luck out on these things. This is very rare. Because of the way this looks like it's going to play out, I'm only going to have to polish the edge. It's the only part you're going to, may not even see the whole edge, I don't know. And what's going to happen, the part of it that where the JB Weld goes, I'm going to roughen it up with sandpaper. This area where we're going to put the JB Weld, I wanted to get all the paint off of that with some pretty rough sandpaper. And where this piece is going to join, anywhere there's going to be JB Weld, I want it to be rough. I don't want it smooth. Now, a little bit of note about JB Weld. I prefer regular JB Weld, not the 5-minute. My experience has shown me that's a lot stronger in the real world. Forget about what the advertising is. That's advertising. All right, so we have two joint surfaces. That's going to work out fine. Now I just have to figure out, and let's see, this piece is going to go on the top. I got to figure a way to roughen that up, push that on all the way. I don't even need it on all the way, just about like that. Uncanny, maybe I'll put one bolt in there. That's going to work pretty cool. I'm amazed because we almost never catch a break on this kind of stuff. Okay, I JB welded up this part, put a 440 screw through it. I'll clean this up once the JB Weld sets. I'll come back to this tomorrow, and we'll late tonight, and that'll be dry. And then once it's dry, I can polish it and clean it all up, and then that can get glued in place. That can sit overnight, and that should be ready to go. A relatively easy mount here, and I think it's going to work great. All right, that piece has been hanging up for about 4 hours up by the heating vent. It should be ready to install. And the key thing here is that the part that's going to be glued, JB welded, we got all the paint off, and it has a nice etched surface to bond to. And the key thing with any JB Weld project is just get both sides of the joint, let it all ooze out, and as you're done, just wipe whatever oozes out with some Q-tips. Now just let that dry for a few minutes. Want to make sure none is oozing out, and we'll go install it on a motorcycle. And that looks like it's going to work out really well, and what it's going to do, it's going to give us a little bit of adjustment if I want to shoot up higher, or of course lower, and it looks like it's going to be plenty solid. So now it's just a question of waiting for some time, get a quick ride in, shoot some footage, see how it worked out, and I'm sure it'll work out fine. That worked out as solid, just better than I ever thought it would. And now every bike we have has a rear mount. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, thanks for watching.